so much for having me here. My name is Peter Yu. I want to say thank you to Valimar. Right, all right, hold on. How's that sound? Is that better? All right, there we go. Okay, very nice. So, my name is Peter Yu, and I am running. I just want to say thank you to Valimar, Log Cabin Republicans for having me here. I had a chance to sit down with them a couple months ago, and it's been a great venture to be able to know that we can talk and be able to expand our message. But for those who don't know me, my name is Peter, so I am a U.S. Senate, and a lot of you asking, geez, this is obviously a big, important seat for me to venture into. Well, back in 2018, a little backstory on me, I ran for Congress back in the 2nd Congressional District, which is actually this district right here. I believe we are actually is this a little bit still? Okay, I know it was just on the other side of I said, so it's very much parallel here, but the good thing about this is, back then I was simply just a businessman who was looking to basically get involved, such as what you said tonight. And it was an incredible ride, because I was wondering, where can I get involved? What can I do? And as we kept talking to people, it ended up saying, Pete, we think you should run for Congress.
Hold it just a little bit closer.
A little bit right there? Okay. How's that sound? Okay, great. Right there. All right, perfect. So, well, good deal. So here's the thing about this. Back in 2018, we made the evaluation or run for Congress. And some people said that was even kind of a little bit of a big deal at that point. And just like what Ken said here a second ago, there was 2 other people in the primary as well against me. And based off of my background and guess who I am, I'm a big believer in hard work. I'm a big believer in treating everyone with respect. And as a result, despite the fact that I had never run for office before, we were able to easily win our primary and be able to move on. But that thing about that is that at that point in time, people sit there and say, well, you're still running in the 2nd Congressional District, a district that obviously includes Boulder, Colorado, quite possibly the most liberal city in our state. However, the good thing about that is that because of what we did, because of our hard work, we actually had polling that came out even. We actually had not 1, but 2 national forecasters picking us to win. And as a result, the National Republican Congressional Committee even said, Pete, you know what? You're the best candidate in Colorado right now. The problem is we ran you in the wrong district. We ran you in a district that really, when it came down to it, Boulder is Boulder. And in 2018, the whole state went the wrong way. And as a result, with us making national news, with the local Channel 31 doing a big profile on me, they said, Pete, we need you to run again. We need you to make sure that you stay involved. And I said, well, I'm not going to be one of those candidates that just runs the run. I'm running only if it's the right cause, the right situation. Well, fast forward to now, I've been approached by many people, and they said, Pete, with everything that's going on right now, we feel like you are the one that can basically make a mark in this race. And the reason why is this. Let me talk about my family background. So my mom and dad, my 6 brothers and sisters, they all immigrated this country back in 1969. They came here without a dollar to name. They even speak the language, which is crazy. And then, for some crazy reason, they decided to have another child, which was me, which I'm thankful for, by all means. I always like to ask, why in the world would they have a child, when we're basically living in poverty? And the good thing about that is, I always like to say that, hey, they just kept having kids, so they got it right. But the good thing about this, though, is our family, despite all of our obstacles, you know what? 5 of the 7 children were able to get college degrees. Because of our work ethic, today, all 7 children are living exceptional lives. And that's what we need to remember, what's really possible in this country. And you know what? I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but I am a minority. And I know it's hard to tell because of my light skin. I know it's a tough one to tell. But you know what the best thing about that is? I'm 49 years old. My family's been here for 50 plus years. And we never ever even let it come into our mindset that racism was even an issue in this country. That opportunity wasn't available. And that's, I think, the reason why we were able to make such a difference back in 2018, because we just simply worked. We actually went everywhere. We never missed a meeting. We treated every single person with respect, regardless if they were Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated. And as a result, we made a lot of noise. We made a lot of people feel like they are respected, because guess what? I'm not just running to be a Republican representative. I'm running to be the representative for everyone in the state of Colorado, regardless of what your affiliation is. And that's the way it is. And we're not always going to agree on the same issues. We're not going to agree on the same things. But we need to focus on what really matters. We need to focus on the things that actually affect you and me on a daily basis. We need to make sure that we understand that right now the consumer price index came out again, and we have another 13-year high on inflation, where basically some cost of service and goods in some cases are double what they were a year ago. We need to make sure that we have energy that not only is reliable but cheap, because guess what? Not only do we need to make sure that we maintain the jobs we have, but that we can create new ones. That we need to make sure that we can keep our house warm when it's cold outside, or keep it cool on a day like today when it's 100 degrees. We need to make sure that we have health insurance, that when a doctor, not a bureaucrat, decides what treatments and medications you get, not some guy who's sitting behind a desk. And to make sure that we get that in a timely manner, not like England, not like Canada, where you get to wait months to even see a doctor. We need to make sure that we have a secure border. Because let me ask you guys a question. Last time I checked, we are a sovereign nation, are we not? And as a sovereign nation, we have the right to decide that whoever does come in, that they do embrace what America stands for. And for those who mean to cause us harm, make sure that we protect ourselves. Now the question I have for you that... Exactly. So let me ask you, with that statement right there, can someone please explain to me why that's a bad idea? Because if you can, you're a much smarter person than me. We need to make sure that, more importantly than ever, especially with what Biden's trying to do with the new $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, that we control our spending, make sure our national debt is addressed. Because for those who don't think our debt's real, don't think that it's a situation, tell you what, the payment due on our interest is sooner than you think. I mean, the sad part about that, it's absolutely grotesque for us to continue to spend like this and not have any regard to what's going to happen to your children. Because guess what? That bill is going to be due, and your children are going to be the ones paying for that. I mean, the Congressional Budget Office, this isn't me, this isn't Republican, this isn't Democrat. The Congressional Budget Office said our national debt's going to be at over $150 trillion in 25 years. And in 25 years, the biggest government expenditure is going to be the interest on our debt at $5 trillion a year. To give you an idea how bad that is, right now our current budget is even $5 trillion a year. So in 25 years, our number one bill is going to be just paying off our interest. And some people sit there and say, well, we don't really understand how big a trillion is. Let me tell you how big a number of trillion is. If you were to count to a trillion, just 1 trillion, how long do you think that would take you? It would take you 32,000 years to count to a trillion. That's how big of a number that is. And yet we're spending money like there's no tomorrow. And last but not least, because I do want to do some Q&A here, we need to make sure that we protect our police officers. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. I know we are definitely in a ad lib here, but it's all good. But if we do need to make sure we take care of our police officers. We need to make sure that they are protected. We need to make sure that they have the tools so that they can do their job, so that we're all safe at night. I know I feel better when they're out there. And it breaks my heart that we continue to demonize the ones that actually protect us. Because when you're in trouble, who do you guys call? You guys actually call your local police officer, and it's sad that we're going down that road. And so these are the things that actually affect us on a daily basis, and that's what we need to focus on. Not this distractions or the fluff. That this is definitely an interesting situation here, but that the other side keeps pushing, such as critical race theory, the 1619 Project, or the biggest lie of them all, which is white privilege. I mean, if white privilege is such a real thing, then why do we have 19 million white Americans living in poverty right now? If it's such a guarantee, why do we have white farmers right now being denied relief because of their color of their skin? I mean, that, my friend, that is not white privilege. That's racism and discrimination at the highest level, and needs to be stopped and spoken out against. And so if we focus on these things, I guarantee you that the American people will be alive and well. And as a minority, I promise you, I will definitely make sure that I speak the word that, you know what? How is it possible that my family, 7 children, all Asian, yet, you know what? Every single one of us is living an exceptional life.
Where's your family right now?
Well, that's a great question. And the one thing about people need to understand as well, this has nothing to do with the people of China. This is 100% about the government. And that's why those who continue to try to push this rhetoric that it's a xenophobia, racist thing against China, it's not at all. It's about a government that's extremely communistic. It's a country that's basically oppressive. And you know what? Everything that they are doing, from basically the hacking to the cover-up of COVID-19 to everything else, needs to be dealt with. There has to be consequences. They have to be held accountable. So as a senator or a president or whoever else it may be, or as a congresswoman, I'm sorry, they definitely have to be held accountable for everything that they do in regards to how they treat their people and how they treat the rest of the world. Absolutely. That's actually a great point, because guess what? Like I said, I'm 49 years old. My family's been over 50. And in that time frame, do you know how many times you spoke about racism in our house? Never did. And the thing about this, if there's people out there who sit there and talk about things such as, if the last thing you think about when you go to bed at night, or the first thing you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, America's racist, or God, people are oppressed, or people aren't gonna have the same chances, I'm gonna tell you, you probably got a pretty good life, because guess what? I worry about when I wake up in the morning or when I go to bed at night. So I'm gonna have a job tomorrow. Am I gonna be able to keep food on the table? Am I gonna be able to keep a roof over my head? So these people who continue to push this false narrative, which is a false narrative 100%. I mean, how in the world is that my family, 7 children, are all living, making a life that is unheard of? And don't sit there and try to sit there and say, oh, well, it's only on certain selective races. No, there's not. In fact, right now we keep talking. What's the biggest thing we hear about right now? Hashtag what? Stop Asian hate. And the fun thing about this, do you know how many times I wake up in the morning and fearful for going outside? Never. Do you know how many times I've been attacked in the last year and a half with COVID-19? 0. You know how many people have they spit on me or looked at me weird? None. The truth is that if you want to see racism, you'll see it. If someone cuts you off in the street, it's like, oh, it's because of whatever it may be. If someone basically looks at me the wrong way, has it ever occurred to you maybe you're just doing something wrong? Or maybe you're just not being polite? And so that's what we need to understand, is that we are in a society right now where there's only one way for the other side to win, because they can't run on the issues. They don't run on lower taxes. They don't run on, affordable cost of living. They run on the only way to win an election, which is basically telling people what to be scared of and then who to blame. And that's all they're doing. Because I guarantee you that whatever ails you, whatever problems you're having, the other side has no desire to resolve that issue for you. Perfect example is this. I've actually worked in renewable energies, so I know solar and wind back and forth. But the truth of the matter is, when you back in 2018, when the Democrats came out with their whole little statement that, hey, climate change and global warming is an existential threat. Remember that statement? Which now we're at 2021 now, so 9 years now. And they said that if we don't correct things before 2030, it'll be irreversible. Remember that statement? Well, why is it now that they come out with this new game plan on how we're going to get to zero carbon by 2050?
We're going to be dead by 30, right?
Exactly. So here they are trying to sit there and scare you, saying we have to do things now. But the truth is, they know that solar and wind's not the answer.
They won't look at nuclear.
Well, that's the exact point. So that's the whole thing about, if we wanted to go to 0%, zero carbon, we could right now.
Yeah.
But the truth is that they don't, because guess what are they going to talk about in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years?
Yeah.
They want to basically make sure they have a reason for you to vote for them, because they're the ones basically vowing, regardless of what their solutions are. And that's what we're trying to do. So that's kind of where we're at in those situations in regards to making sure, because obviously the only thing we have right now, obviously everything is basically based off of race. And it's sad that we're going down that road, because guess what? The country I grew up in, it's a country where we're all Americans. We're not Asian Americans, we're not Black Americans, we're not white Americans, we're not Hispanic Americans, we're not any, we're all Americans. And that's the America I grew up in, and you're exactly right. It wasn't until Barack Obama came to the office and made it an issue. And he's still making it, Michelle Obama just 3 weeks ago was on the morning show, and she said she's terrified for her daughters. Terrified for what? That they're going to be billionaires living on Martha's Vineyards? So it's one of those situations where it's about fear and playing a game, because that's how you get those votes. And that's sad, because it's not about getting votes. It's about making sure I represent you. Make sure that you answer your phone call, making sure that if you have something that's going on, that I'm there to try to help you out the best I can. That's it. Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, did you guys, I don't know if you guys all saw the video at Penn State just the other day. A professor brought up a white a white student and a black student, and he continued to push the idea that no matter what, the black student is never going to have the same rights and opportunities as the white student. And this is at Penn State. This isn't at whatever the school might be, but that's exactly what's going on. And so guess what? As a minority who knows what it's like to live in this country, who has 50 years of history almost, firsthand experience, I will make sure that I'm your voice. That I will sit there and say, stop that. That's a lie. You need to stop creating this hate and division. You need to stop basically pushing false ideologies. Because guess what? All it does is make you hate your neighbors. It makes you think of people in the wrong way. And here's the worst part of it all. They sit there and think they're trying to help people, but all they're doing is creating an ideology of being a victim. When they're making people sit there and think, oh my gosh, I wake up in the morning, I'm already 2 steps behind a person who is white. I'm already 3 steps behind, I'm never gonna get this job. And that's a crime. Because if you honestly believe that someone's not gonna hire you because of the color of your skin, or they're not gonna get into a certain school, or whatever it may be, you know what? That's the worst thing you could do to somebody. Make them feel like they don't have a chance. Why? For nothing more than simply because of the color of their skin, or where they came from, or wherever it may be. Because guess what? If my family would have thought that, we would never have gotten college degrees. We would never have been able to have an opportunity. And here's the thing about this. I told you guys, I grew up a majority of my life in poverty. Yet I'm proud to say that the life I have now is something I never imagined. But let me tell you about my sister. My sister got married and had a baby at 21. Skipped the whole thing, grew up really quick. She was a high school dropout because she was too busy working. Well, guess what? By the time she got to 30, she had 2 more children. She had 3 kids, a single mom at that point in time. What did she decide? Despite our country of racism and oppression, she decided that she was going to get more. She wanted more. She went and got her GED. She basically took classes at CSU. And it wasn't like the 4-year class. It took her a lot longer. Why? Because she took only part-time classes and worked at night. Well, guess what? She got her college degree, worked hard, and guess what? Today, she's a regional manager now for a large bank, making 6 figures. She did this when she was in her 30s. And despite the fact that she had no assistance, no help, she was still able to accomplish what I would call the American dream. And did the color of her skin stop her? The fact that she's a single mom stop her? The fact that she's a female stop her? No. The only thing that basically had going for her, and this is what I was trained from growing up, because I've been working since I was 10 years old because we were poor, broke, and hungry. My dad used to say, you don't need to go to school, you need to come work. And that was the truth. But guess what? Because of the fact that we were willing to work and not sit there and say, okay, I can't do this or I can't do that or the opportunities aren't there, we sat there and said, hey, we can do this. In my family now, we have engineers, we have businessmen, we have people who own their own companies. In my family, we have a brother who's actually a principal educating children and telling parents, stop that. Stop trying to make your child feel like they don't have a chance because of their ethnicity. We need exactly what that is. And well, and the thing about this, we also need to make sure we do this in a way where people can understand, because we don't want to become this attack mode by means, because we all have, and here's the truth is, we all want the same thing. Would you guys agree? We all want a job. We all want to keep a roof over our head. We want to put food on the table. You know what? There are just 2 ideologies on how to get that. 1, some people believe that the government should be able to do that for you. Or 2, other people believe that, you know what? Just get out of the way and let me basically come out and hang out whenever you want to. Or you can basically have dinner, go be able to take care of your family. And that's all we can really ask for. Can you agree? Yep. The opportunity. And that's all I want to do is provide for you. And I also want to be that voice for you as a minority to sit there and say, hey, guess what? The racism thing, it's a lie. Yeah. We are the most diverse country in the world. And the thing about what drives me crazy is that racism is in every single country in the world. You know, but this is the country that said no to slavery. We're the ones that stepped up and said, enough of this. And slavery has been in every single country in the world as well, which just drives me crazy. And of course they don't, because why? Well, the thing about this is I believe that we are on the right path. And I apologize that it's tough to hear me, and I know there's a lot of background noise and a lot of things going on, but you know what? I'm here to help out with every one of you. I'm willing to basically have a meeting with every single one of you. Just give me a call, and I promise you I'll be there. That's actually why so many Democrats, after that 2018 election, called me up and said, Pete, we voted for you, and we may not agree with you. However, you actually answered my phone call. Some of them still reach out to me this day and say, you know what? I'm a Democrat, and I can't get Joe Neguse to call me back ever. He won't even respond to me. And that's what a representative is. Make sure he takes your phone call, takes your email, and make sure that, you know what? It doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. What's actually the problem that you're having right now, and be able to step up and help you out. So here's the thing about, like I said, I can talk forever, but we obviously are on a limited time scale. And it's also a little bit loud in here too, but yes.
I have a comment and a question.
Yes.
And all of that.
You know, obviously that's a very hot topic situation. I mean, for example, we have Sports Illustrated today, well, not today, but they came out and said that their cover model is going to be a transgender. Now, here's the thing about this is, there's so many ways to discuss this factor. But the truth of the matter is like, in America, you get to live your life how you want to live it. And the thing about this is how you live your life is no concern to me. All I care about is, one, I don't have to be involved with however you decide to live your life. I don't have to pay for your whatever kind of life you want to be. And three, you know what? Don't force your way of life on anyone else. That's my belief. And the thing about this, I can't sit here and tell you what's right and wrong. But what I can tell you is like, you know what? If I don't want to be part of how you live your life, that's fine. But I also don't have to basically sit there in your face and criticize you about it either. It's a very, very hot topic in our country, and I believe in everyone being welcomed. But guess what? We need to make sure that everyone else who doesn't agree with you is also welcomed as well. For example, everyone knows the most famous baker here in Colorado. Jack Phillips. And you know what? If Jack doesn't want to participate in your life, he doesn't have to. And you don't need to have him part of your life either. And that's what's sad, that we keep forcing people to agree. I was told this about the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. And I'm just saying, and I'm not saying it's us versus them or them versus us, where it might be, but the thing about a Republican is this. You know what? If I'm a vegan and I decide I don't want to eat meat, then fine, I'm not going to eat meat. The problem is, on the other side, if they're a vegan, they sit there and say, I'm not going to eat meat, but guess what? You're not going to eat meat either. And that's the difference. And the same thing that goes with that is like, you know what? If I choose to be a transgender or whatever the situation is or whatever mindset I have, you know what? I'm not here to basically tell you who you are or what your life is. But guess what? I don't have to sit there and agree with you. I don't have to basically support you. But same point. If you want to live your life, go live your life, and I will leave you alone. And that's all we can ask for. If you want to paint your house a certain way, paint your house a certain way. If you want to live your life, you want to work at a certain job, whatever it may be, go ahead and do it. But don't expect me to pay for it. Don't expect me to basically be part of it. Simple as that.
Should they be allowed in female bathrooms? Should they be allowed to compete in sports if they're the wrong gender?
You know, that's the funny thing about, okay, let's talk about sports. All right, fine.
And bathrooms.
So as you guys can see, I'm a huge man. Would you guys agree? I'm gigantic. Okay. Give you a little example of why males who are biological males, who actually have that testosterone, who are basically that kind of, biology. In high school, I ran a 10.79 100-meter dash. I played football in college. I was a pretty good athlete. It wasn't because I am a giant man or I have huge structure or giant muscles, this, that, and the other. It's just men are different than women. Guess what? My high school time would be the fourth fastest time in history of women. I could literally run in the Olympics if I want to. Is that fair? Absolutely not. So 100%. Of course, you would catch me in a moment. They let a transgender MMA fighting. He, now as a she, nearly killed the other woman. So obviously, I am 100% against that. When it comes to, it's funny how you mentioned that. I work out a lot. I'm in the gym. I was at 24-Hour Fitness, and there was a transgender in there working out. And guess what? This wasn't me saying this, because like I said, once again, I will leave you alone on however you want to live your life. But guess what? Every single woman in that gym did not like it when he went in there while they were changing. And so you have to sit there and understand, you know what? There is a comfort level on where we need to be. So when it says no, and that's the thing about this, is that we have to understand that, you know what, our privacy is an important thing, and we have to basically be in a situation too where, you know, we can't just sit there and say, I'm this or that and the other, and all of a sudden be able to expect to go, okay, well, great, I'm going to run the Olympics today, or hey, I'm going to go into a women's locker room. You know, we basically have to have things set up where, you know what, common sense has to play a factor and a role, because guess what? If I had a daughter, I would not want a man in the locker room with her. And that's just a fact. I wouldn't. So, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, your story there, you're 24, you know what? Outstanding. You're an immigrant. It's amazing that we don't think of those, we don't live that life, anything is possible in this country. And when you sit there and talk about the people who actually talk about racism and discrimination, it might be other minorities. It's sad because I saw Dennis Prager, obviously a person who's controversial just because of the fact the other side makes him controversial. Saw him at CSU, probably about 1,000 students. This will be the last question, we're wrapping this up. But it's a great way to finish this up. And at the end there, and I'm sitting there saying, you know what? Everything he said is, you can't argue with anything he said. And then two black girls, because he wants questions at the end. He also wants the questions that are not just, he wants controversial questions. These two black girls came up to the front, students at CSU, and they said, you don't know what it's like to live in my shoes. We're scared to walk outside. You don't understand how everyone looks at me. And the sad part about I literally want to just sit there and say, you do realize this is in your own mind. Like I said, as I said earlier, if you want to believe there's racism, you're going to see racism all day. I can sit there and say, hey, she's looking at me weird. She probably hates me because I'm Asian. I can seriously, honestly, that's what was drilled into these two younger ladies' mind, that they were terrified to go outside because someone had instilled in their mind that the world hates them because of the color of their skin. And it's a crime that our teachers or anyone else puts that in their mind, because guess what? How is it possible that we have two different people, both minorities, one person thinks this is the greatest country in the world, but yet one person doesn't because of what was taught to them? And that's unbelievable that we've gone down this road. So, I just want to say, my name is Peter Yu. And the support I've received to running this thing, I've been exploring this idea for 3 months. And the mindset is this is the right thing to do, that I am the candidate, the one that so many people have said that, you know what, Pete, you're probably the only one that has a chance to win this race. So I'm looking to help you out. And like I said, the one thing about this too, it's not even about me. It's not even about me or even if it's someone else. It's important that we win this seat back. And I don't care if it is me or not, but I will do everything I possibly can to make sure that we get some checks and balances in Washington, D.C., because obviously we wouldn't be talking about $3.5 trillion infrastructure bills. We wouldn't be talking about packing the court. We wouldn't be trying to, make Washington, D.C. or Puerto Rico as statehoods. Why? For one reason only. And that is just simply to get more power. It's more power, not even votes, it's power. That's all it is. So thanks so much. If you guys have a chance, please go to my website. It's youforsenate.com. You can actually sign up and get basically on our mailers so you can keep in touch with everything we're doing. I appreciate you being here. Obviously, it's hard to hear me. I know there's music going on. There's people walking, waiters come by, giving hugs. I love it. That's what we're about. You know what? There is no rules. Exactly. If you can, please go to my Facebook page, Peter Yu for Senate. And guess what? If any of you have a time, I would love to sit down with you, especially in this situation, since we'd have a good chance to be able to have a good speaker. I would love to sit down with every single one of you and have a good cup of coffee and be able to discuss things that bother you and how we can help out. Simple as that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.